Today, I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. In terms of Election Day, I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military. The worst people are the enemies from within. The enemy from within. Those people are more dangerous, the enemy from within, than Russia and China. You had one really violent day, one rough hour, and I mean real rough.
They did put forth legislation on President Trump's first day in office to suspend the writ of habeas corpus. This will give President Trump the authority to arrest and imprison the treasonous officials and subversives who now occupy positions across our government.
You guys want to hear something wild? So according to Catherine Hedge, she's a reporter for, I believe, CBS. She was at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and she said that there is a huge project where the United States is building a gigantic courthouse that he plans on holding a whole bunch of people accountable for things that have happened over the last 4 years.
Key element of fascism is to create problems that don't exist in order to gain power.
We have some major breaking news right now. Donald Trump has just announced that he is signing an executive order later today that will instruct the Department of Defense and DHS to prepare a 30,000 in-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
Trump said if returned to power, he will invoke the Alien Enemies Act, a 1798 law, an infamous law that gives a president in wartime the sole power, the sole discretion to imprison, to put into concentration camps, or to deport anybody in this country based on their race, on their racial heritage. This is the law that enabled the internment of nearly all the Japanese in the continental United States during the Second World War. The law reads specifically that the people that the president uses this law against do not have to be suspected or charged with any crime. There are no hearings, no lawyers. The president alone detains and expels them.
Something he's repeatedly promised is to use the Alien Enemies Act, of what last used to justify internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. Like, that's a promise that he makes. He talks about the enemy within.
At the end of World War II, the Supreme Court ruled that Truman can continue to hold Japanese Americans in detention indefinitely, even though World War II was over.
Who precisely will be held there? Is it some sort of a facility to indefinitely detain people? Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said it's an interim holding center, a transit location.
Here's the thing. Historically, any sort of ethnic extermination program starts with the criminals, because that is extremely palatable to normal people. Normal people see that and they say, great, we're putting criminals where they belong. The next thing, though, is for the government to start putting people that have not actually gone through any sort of judicial process, that have not been convicted of a crime, into these facilities. According to the Holocaust Museum, that is the definition of a concentration camp.
He says it's going to be for criminal detention and illegal criminals, but we know that's just where it starts. Yes, it starts off with the horribly criminal ones, but it's going to quickly turn into all migrants, denaturalized citizens, anybody else.
That is going to house 30,000 immigrants, citizens, and illegals. And what seems to be exactly what we thought it would be. Germany, 1930s. You think it's gonna stop with these immigrants? Citizens too? You think you're safe? You think you're safe?
The first being that ISIS started wrongfully detaining American citizens based on racial profile. Who's to say that we're not gonna have American citizens ending up in this prison camp being tortured because they didn't have paperwork?
We know what the definition of a concentration camp is a place where minorities are placed at, who are imprisoned in a small area. They are detained there, they are put to work, and we know what happens to them in the end.
So why Guantanamo Bay? Created in 2002, and it was created to be an island outside of the law. Outside of the law!
Many detainees at the centre have been held without being formally charged or given a trial, leading to legal challenges and debates around the principles of habeas corpus and due process. However, some detainees at Guantanamo Bay have been subjected to what the US government termed enhanced interrogation techniques, which have been criticised as being tantamount to torture.
Chicago defense attorney Tom Durkin was one of 5 lawyers tapped to represent accused 9/11 attackers and says legal proceedings at the naval base are a sham.
These were designed to be show trials.
He says the Guantanamo detention facility has always been a lawless place, so it's no surprise to him that a president who he says has no respect for the law would be attracted to it.
So since it was opened 22 years ago, the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center has housed around 780 Muslim men and boys from various countries. And I say men and boys because the youngest detainee was only 14 years old. And of those 780 people detained, only 8 of them were ever convicted, and 4 of those convictions were reversed. Over 90% of former detainees were released without charge, meaning that after being captured, interrogated, very often tortured, and then shipped across the world, having their rights completely stripped away from them, and detained for often years on end, they were released like nothing happened. And I'm sure you're probably thinking, in order to rationalize that, well, okay, they must have been doing something wrong, right? In order for them to be captured and detained, like the US had to have had some kind of evidence of their wrongdoing, right? That answer is no. 86% of detainees were not even captured by US forces. The US was flying over Afghanistan and Pakistan looking for people that they thought were involved in terrorism and were offering bounties for anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 US. Meaning that if there is a huge financial incentive to capture suspicious people, you're gonna say just about anybody is suspicious for that amount of money.
My name is Martin Alvarado. I'm a bounty hunter by trade. I've been introduced by my agency. I'm from Seattle. Tacoma called me and told me that as the waves go through, this is the first wave. The second and third is when they're gonna hire us. The ICE is gonna hire us bounty hunters, and they're gonna be giving $1,500 to $1,000 per legal. How are you going to stop us from coming through? Because we don't have to worry about warrants. We don't really have to follow too many of the laws. And if we're going to be deputized by ICE, we can pretty much do anything we want. $1,000 per illegal is a pretty good price. How or what you guys are going to do to stop that? Are you going to pay us more?
And so they were just capturing all kinds of people that they thought had any sort of connection to terrorist organizations and 9/11 hijackers, when in reality, the people directly involved with the 9/11 attacks were dead because they were the ones hijacking the planes.
President, what you signed yesterday regarding Guantanamo Bay, you want 30,000 new beds there. Is there a possibility that will increase, or is 30,000 the maximum?
Could increase, yes.
What would be the maximum?
It depends, but...
When they came for the illegal immigrants, I didn't say anything. I wasn't an illegal immigrant. When they came for the legal immigrants, I didn't say anything. I wasn't an immigrant. When they came for the naturalized citizens, I didn't say anything because I wasn't a naturalized citizen. When they came for the atheists, I didn't say anything. I wasn't an atheist. When they came for the Democrats, I didn't say anything. I wasn't a Democrat. Now, when they came for me, there was nobody left to say anything.
He's talking about that he considers anyone who doesn't support him or who will not bend to his will an enemy of our country.
Kamala Harris is looking real good now, huh? I said Kamala Harris is looking real good now, huh? All you motherfuckers who voted for this man, we sat here, we told you, we warned you, we even put it in your face and tried to fucking remind you.
Y'all wanted to play the fuck around game so goddamn badly. Well, you are fixing to find out very bigly.